Hi everyone, this is Marla at Fassler Garden. It's September. We're getting ready to wrap up the garden and I have a full day ahead of me out there in the garden to get my garden cart out for one last hurrah. But I'm feeling a little stiff this morning, so let's do a little yoga on the deck before we get into the garden, shall we? So today we're going to start in child's pose. As you begin in child's pose, strive to find just a little bit of space between your knees. Bring in your two big toes together at the back of the mat. This will give you a little bit more space to breathe and to allow the hips and the lower back to relax. You might sway your hips a little from side to side to find a deeper release in the hips and in the low back. You might extend your fingertips out towards the short edge of the mat in front of you, or maybe you cross your forearms one on top of the other to rest your forehead upon. If your forehead makes contact with the mat, gently roll it from side to side to release any tension between the shoulder blade or between the eyebrows. And then it's here in this child's pose that we'll begin to create a little space between ourselves and the outside world. Bringing our awareness to our breath, we'll inhale very deeply through our nose and exhale through our nose. And just noticing here how the breath travels through the body, creating space between the vertebrae, creating space between the rib bones. We use our diaphragm to draw that breath all the way down to the bottoms of the lungs. We let it expand, we let it create space, and then we allow ourselves to get completely empty with the exhale. With that exhale, we find tensions that we hold physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Just be carried away with the breath. And then as we begin to build here into that deep three-part breath, where every inhale that we draw in is deeper than the one before, exhales linger longer than the previous inhale. You might begin to weave a positive thought or a powerful I am statement into your breath here as well. With our next inhale, we'll lift the hips and curl the toes and exhale to press gently back into our first downward facing dog. As we move into this first downward facing dog, we find a little bit of movement, bicycling the heels down to the mat. Lifting the hips straight up to the sky, a little bend in the knees, hands press the mat away from the body. Head falls gently between the elbows. Heels sink down towards the mat. And you can tell I live in the city here, can't you? With our next inhale, we'll move forward into plank or modified plank. Knowing that as the knees come down to the mat for modified plank, our hips are not sinking. We press out through the bottoms of the heels. We reach out through the crown of the head. Our arms, our hands press the floor down and away, creating a strong shoulder girdle. We draw the belly button in. We lift through the pelvic floor. Knees are active, coming up the fronts of the legs. Take another big deep breath in right here, and our exhale will return us back to downward facing dog. We're going to do this 3 more times, your movement to your breath. Letting the movement start at the toes and end at the crown of the head. Following the breath, close your eyes. Truly strive to make that connection between movement and breath. With our next inhale, we'll gently step forward with the right foot. You can strive to walk those toes all the way up until the ankle is just below the knee. Bringing the hands back behind the toes will help you to distribute weight just a little bit more evenly between the front foot and the left foot. And then from here, just a little hop in with that back foot. Take a big deep breath in, and as we exhale, we begin to straighten that right leg, sinking the left heel down to the mat. Drawing back lightly on that right hip, and then just finding here a little motion. Movement to breath. Inhale and exhale. Taking these first vinyasas, just nice and gentle. We're really warming up the hamstrings here. Since I have a lot of work to do in the garden, I will be in a lot of forward folds today. So I really want to warm up my hamstrings while loosening my hips and my back. One more little rock right here because it feels good, and then we'll step forward with that back foot for our first forward fold. As I step forward with this back foot, a little bit of movement here in the shoulders to release tension in the neck, to lengthen the spine, and remember that it's okay to rest the belly right on top of the thighs. A little bend in the knees is always helpful for release of the low back. Letting the crown of the head drip down towards the mat, roll the shoulders up away from the earth, and we'll inhale for a half lift. Rooting down into all four corners of the feet as we lift into this half lift. We broaden the collarbone and draw the shoulder blades down and back. Exhale to fold. Keeping those knees nice and soft, we'll inhale, root to rise. So from the bottoms of the feet to the tips of the fingers, we'll lift the heart, lift the gaze. Enjoy that little back bend right up at the top. And exhale into mountain pose. Again, roll those shoulders down and back. Rooting down again into all four corners of the feet. Reaching up through the crown of the head. Inhale to sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. With our hands on the mat beside the feet, we'll step back with the right foot. And as we again stack that left knee just over the left heel, we reach out through the bottom of the right heel, and then we'll find that little motion here, rocking back and forth. Adjusting the stance where you need to. Drop back on that left hip. Left toes fly to the sky. And again, we match movement to breath. Inhale and exhale. Close your eyes. Again, here, notice the connection between movement and breath. Notice how this vinyasa feels in your body. I notice that one side, my left side, is always tighter than the right side. And then we'll step back for downward facing dog. We'll inhale to move forward for plank or modified plank. And exhale to lower slowly into crocodile. Keep the elbows tucked into the rib cage. Our inhale scoops us forward for an up dog or cobra. Taking this first back bend only as far as your body is willing to go. Knees make contact with the mat, and our exhale presses us back into child's pose. And we take just a moment here in child's pose to just again here notice how the body feels. Notice the low back, notice the hips, notice the hamstrings. We'll inhale to lift the hips, curl the toes, exhale, press back into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, we'll inhale to lift the heels up high, deeply bend the knees, and as we exhale, step or hop the feet forward, forward fold. Inhale for a half lift, and exhale, fold. We'll soften the knees and inhale, root to rise. Bottoms of the feet to the tips of the fingers, lift the heart, lift the gaze. Our exhale sits us back into chair. As we sit back into our first chair pose, take that quick glance down. Notice your toes just beyond your knees. Heavy in the heels, light in the toes. Maybe pick up all 10 toes and spread them wide. Our tailbone here is just slightly tucked. Draw the belly button in and lift through the pelvic floor and press the feet down and out to draw the inner thighs in together. Our inhale will press us back into airplane, straightening the knees far enough to bring the spine parallel to the mat below. Engage the upper body here by drawing those shoulder blades down and back. Engage the core. Reach out through the crown of the head. One more big deep breath in. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a half lift. Exhale to fold. With our hands on the mat beside the feet, we'll step back with the right foot. Rooting down into all four corners of that left foot, we find here our steadiness and ease. And we'll inhale to sweep the arms up to the sky for our high lunge. Knowing here that we can modify this lunge by bringing that right knee down to the mat. We're opening up that right hip flexor. Stacking shoulders right up on top of hips. A little tuck of the tailbone to really open up that hip flexor. Take a big deep breath in and exhale, downward facing dog. Hands come to the mat, step back with the left foot. Inhale, move forward for plank or modified plank. Exhale, lower slowly into crocodile. Inhale to scoot forward for up dog or cobra. Curl the toes under. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Fill up here with breath. And stay for your exhale. Our inhale will step us forward with the right foot. Rooting down into all four corners of that right foot, modifying this lunge where you need to. We'll inhale to sweep the arms up to the sky. High lunge or low lunge. Making all those little adjustments that you need to find your steadiness and ease. And then taking just a breath to enjoy the stillness. A breath in and exhale, forward fold. Hands come to the mat. We step forward with the back foot. Inhale for a half lift. Exhale to fold. Soften the knees. Inhale, root to rise. Lift the heart, lift the gaze. Exhale, sink back into chair. Inhale, press back into airplane. Exhale to fold. Heavy in the heels, light in the toes, a little movement to work out the tension. A breath in and settle into stillness. And then with our hands on the mat beside the feet, we'll step back with the right foot. Squaring the hips, so we draw that right hip flexor forward. And then from here, we're going to move into our warrior one. So to get into that warrior one properly, we take a little step in with that right foot and pivot the right heel down to the mat. We strive here to keep our hips square to the short edge of the mat in front of us. And then we'll inhale to sweep the arms up to the sky for our warrior one. Perfect. Adding a little arm variation in here. Let's open up that heart. With the sun rising there in front of us and the beautiful fall colors, take a big deep breath in, and with gratitude, open up the heart. Soften the tongue, soften the jaw. Release tension from the back of the neck. Inhale to reach the hands back up towards the sky, and our exhale is going to clasp the hands behind the low back, and we're going to humble this warrior by bowing deeply. Bringing the left rib cage to the inside edge of the left thigh. Take one more big deep breath in here. And stay for your exhale. Soften the elbows, release the bind. Inhale to sweep the arms back up to the sky. And our exhale will open us up into warrior two. So we have to lift that right heel. Make little adjustments to widen the stance. We're starting to feel the burn on that left leg, feeling its strength. Rotate the left palm to face the ceiling, and we'll inhale to scoop forward and lift up for our reverse warrior. And as we breathe into the left lungs and soften the underside of the right ribs. You might close your eyes. Our inhale will bring the arms back up to a T, and exhale to windmill the arms back down. Left hand to the outside, right hand up and over, and we come up onto the rear toes. Keeping that right hand planted firmly down onto the mat, or use a block if you have one handy. We'll inhale as we open up that left arm towards the sky. Pressing firmly into the ball of the left big toe to keep the knee tucked in towards the center line of the body, not allowing it to fall open. I always feel this right here in the hip. And then using that right hand to press the floor away from the body. And maybe you get just a little bit deeper into that twist. and then becoming light on the right fingertips. Take a big deep breath in. Your exhale is downward facing dog. Left hand comes down to the mat and we step back with the left foot. Inhale to move forward for plank or modified plank. Exhale, lower slowly into crocodile. We'll inhale to scoop forward for up dog or cobra and curl the toes under. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, we'll inhale to lift the heels up high. Deeply bend the knees. Exhale to step or hop the feet forward. Forward fold. Inhale for a half lift. And exhale to fold. Soften the knees and we'll inhale to reverse swan dive up. Lift the heart, lift the gaze. Exhale, sink back into chair. Heavy in the heels, light in the toes. Press those feet down and out. Let's see if we can sink just a little lower into that chair pose. Our inhale will then press us back into airplane and exhale to fold. With our hands on the mat beside the feet, we'll now step back with the left foot. So it's not that huge step back with the left foot because as we move into our warrior one, we want to shorten the stance just a little to keep our hips nice and square. So as we pivot lightly on the ball of that left big toe to drop the heel down onto the mat, ideally we like the right heel to line up with the left. Our inhale will then sweep the arms up to the sky. Hands are falling down for our warrior one. So we draw that left hip flexor forward. Sometimes here in this warrior one, we find ourselves somewhere in between a warrior two and a warrior one, so be mindful. Press into that left heel. Take a big deep breath in, and then with that exhale, find that back bend, that little heart opener right here. Our inhale will sweep the arms back up to the sky, and as we exhale, we'll humble our warrior. So clasping the hands behind the low back, pressing the knuckles towards the heels, and then gently bow. Continue to press into the ball of that right big toe, drawing the knee towards the center line. Crown of the head drips down towards the mat. A breath in, and with your exhale, we'll soften the elbows and release the bind. Our inhale mindfully sweeps the arms back up to the sky, and our exhale will open us up into warrior two. So with this mindful movement, we come up onto the left toe, pivot on the ball of the left big toe, and now we square the hips to the long edge of the mat. Making little adjustments to widen the stance. Oh, that breeze here feels fantastic. I wish you were all here on this deck with me. Let's rotate the right palm to face the ceiling. And inhale to scoop forward and lift up. Reverse warrior. Breathe into the right lungs. Soften the underside of the left ribs. Press here into that right pinky toe edge so that right knee doesn't start to collapse inward. Close your eyes. Breathe with intention. Our inhale will then bring the arms back up to a T. And our exhale will windmill the arms back down. As that left hand comes to the inside of the right foot, we'll inhale here as we open up that right arm to the sky. Pressing into the ball of the right big toe, keep the knee tucked in towards the center line. Press out through the bottom of the left heel. Left hand then presses that floor away from the body to get just a little bit deeper into the twist. And then be light on those left fingertips. Big deep breath in. And your exhale is downward facing dog. As that right hand comes down, we'll step back with the front foot. Inhale to move forward for plank or modified plank. Exhale, lower slowly into crocodile. Our inhale scoops forward for up dog or cobra. And we'll curl the toes under. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. From this downward facing dog, we'll inhale to raise the right leg straight up into the air for our three-legged down dog. Feeling that stretch into the left hamstring. Hands press the floor away from the body. Rotate the right pinky toe towards the mat. Take a big deep breath in. Draw the right knee into the chest. Land it gently between the hands for that runner's lunge. We're going to go a little bit deeper here into this lunge, dropping that left knee down onto the mat. Get heavy in the hips. Imagine here that you're going to try to peek out over the short edge of the mat in front of you. Perfect. From here, we're going to curl the left toes under and lift the left knee. Bring the right hand to the inside of the right foot, and we'll begin to walk the hands towards the center line of the body. So we pivot on the ball of the left big toe, and then pivot on the right heel. As we find ourselves here in this straddle forward fold. You might bind the pose by wrapping your peace fingers underneath your big toes, drawing the elbows up, rooting down into all four corners of the feet, shoulders up away from the ears. And as we place the hands on the mat, we'll inhale for a little half lift. Our exhale is that lunge to the left. So we pivot on the left heel. We come up onto the rear toes. We sink that right knee down into the mat, and we get heavy in the hips. Peeking out over the short edge of the mat. Perfect. Take a big deep breath in. And as we exhale, we'll curl the right toes under, lift the right knee, and step back with the front foot for our downward facing dog. In this downward facing dog, we'll inhale as we raise our left leg straight up into the air for our three-legged down dog. Hands press the earth away from the body. We strive to square the hips. Rotate the left pinky toe down towards the mat. Sink the right heel. Feel that stretch into that right hamstring. Big deep breath in. We'll draw the left knee into the chest. Draw it all the way through into that runner's lunge. From here, we're just going to walk those hands towards the center line and come into that straddle forward fold. I'm not going to lie, this is my favorite pose. A little movement. Close your eyes. Notice what feels good in your body. Enjoy the stillness. With our next inhale, we'll walk the hands back towards that short edge of the mat in front of us. Come up onto the rear toes. From here, we're going to come into an easy seat. So as we step forward with that back foot, we come right into that easy seated position. And as we take just a couple of moments here in this easy seat, close our eyes, roll our shoulders down and back to reach up through the crown of the head and root down into the sits bones. Bringing awareness back to the breath. We inhale very deeply through the nose and exhale through the nose. Finding that distance, that space between ourselves and the outside world. And as we bring our palms to heart center, we'll take one big reconnecting breath here together before we go. Namaste. So just a reminder that yoga doesn't have to be an hour long. It doesn't have to be 2 hours long. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 15 minutes. It could just be the moments that you spend before your feet hit the floor while you're in bed. A couple of twists,
rotating out the ankles, stretching out the toes, bringing mindfulness to your breathing and setting an intention. I hope you all enjoyed this. I'll see you next time at Bastler Garden. Namaste.